What's going on, guys? Kitsune TCG here, back with another deck profile, and today with the recent release of the Magnificent Mavens, I thought I would go ahead and take a look at a deck that does have some competitive viability as a rogue deck, but also is just a overall fun and interactive build using the Ishizu cards that I think definitely a lot of people would enjoy. It is itself Ishizu, Vernusylph, Madolche. And I just kind of thought I'd go through, what cards you're playing, why, and, what kind of you can expect, and maybe some areas that if you want to edit the deck, you can definitely change, and then where some things you just definitely have to, keep. For the Madolche lineup, we are running the 3 Madolche, the 3 Angeli, and the 3 Petting Cessor. These are obviously going to be all of your starters. Madolche, you're able to normal that. You can grab the Petting Cessor. Depending on your hand, you can kind of go from there. Angeli is going to be a similar thing. If you need to normal it, you can normal it to get into Petting Cessor. Whatever the case may be, you definitely need to run those 9 Madolche starters. And then you do have a few quote-unquote bricks for the Madolche line, but, you are able to do something if you happen to draw one of them, using it with, like, the Misting Seedlings and whatnot. But we do have the 2 Messengelato, the 2 Hoot Cake, and then the 1 Pudding Cess. As far as spells and traps, we do have just the 1 Salon, the 1 Chateau. You don't need the ticket, you can definitely incorporate it if you'd like, but it is not really going to add as much value as it did in past builds of Madolche. Really just a lot of these additional cards are going to be generating you the value that you need. And then just the 2 Promenade for the trap. So that kind of rounds out the main deck Madolche core. Really nice, really concise, it does exactly what you need to, and you draw it often enough that, you're going to at least be able to set up a pretty decent board. From there, we do run the 3 Misting Seedlings, and this really just kind of does everything that you want this deck to be able to do, and what the past Vernusylph cards did to an extent, but this does just even better. So this one just says pitch it plus another monster or another Vernusylph card, but really it's just going to be bitching it with another monster in this deck, and you can obviously still special back at the end of it, but the important thing is you are able to grab an Earth Fairy off of this. So if you need to grab an Angeli because you didn't have access to like a Petting Cessor or whatnot, or if you have access to your entire Madolche line and at the end you want to grab a Ishizu card, this card just allows you so much freedom to be able to grab whatever you need in the moment. Which is also kind of why you don't play the biggest Ishizu core. We are maxing out on Mudora, and just the 2 Keldo, 2 Kelbeck, and the 1 Gravekeeper's Trap. The thing is you don't really care too much about the milling of cards. Obviously, yes, you want to be able to mill some things to get those into the graveyard, but the primary, reason we're, playing these is additional kind of level 4 extenders. Yes, once you get them into the graveyard, they act as additional DD Crows. And then, obviously you want Kelbeck in hand to be able to kind of just put back a monster on your opponent's field. So really just kind of depends on your situation, especially if you're going to grab it off the Misting Seedlings. But I think that this amount of Ishizu cards is totally fine. We do have the 3 Pot of Prosperity, just because sometimes, yes, in Yu-Gi-Oh! You will brick, and the ability to play a card that can unbrick your hand is always going to be helpful. The 3 Orange Light, just because you do have a high enough Earth Fairy count that you can definitely afford to run Orange Light. 3 Veiler, this would maybe be the 1 hand trap that you could definitely, switch out for something different if you'd like, but I have just been testing it out and I've liked it thus far. And then rounding it out with 2 DD Crow. You don't need more than 2 just because you are running the Ishizu cards that kind of do a very similar thing, so just the 2 is fine there. Moving on to the extra deck, there is going to be a little bit of flexibility here and some things that I maybe would recommend changing just because of what I've noticed when I've tested this deck out. But we do have the 3 Glass Souffle. That part you do definitely have to run 3 of, just because it is the most important one to get on board, just because you're able to detach a Madolche monster and kind of start your combos. From there, the 3 Queen Tiramisu. This would probably be the situation where you could definitely cut this down to 2 and put in an additional, just kind of generic rank 4, or if you want another Link monster, that would be the area that you could definitely switch that out for. You do have to run the 2 Chocolate mode, and this is obviously very important for your Madolche combos, just to be able to, start doing the special summoning of monsters. Abyss Dweller, if you watched the YCS this past weekend, you would know that, or you definitely know that this is a mandatory card. It does just entirely kind of shut down your opponent's interactions if they are running Ishizu, primarily the Ishizu tier limit deck. Now, Exciton Knight is probably an area where that was probably the rank 4 I have been using the least, or really the extra deck card that I've been using the least. But I have had it come up once or twice. It is nice if, that would be definitely an area that you could switch it out for something else, but I think there would be another card in the extra deck I would take out first. The Gaia Dragon is really nice just because, it does have piercing, so if you really need to do some additional damage, you can definitely get that on board, but also just as an additional kind of material to be able to go into Zeus in main phase 2, which Zeus does come up quite a bit in this deck. Obviously, just really able to get out XYZs, so definitely something you should include alongside as a little Zeus package. From there, we do have the 2 Fresh Starts. These are obviously just to protect your spells and traps from Madolche. And then the 1 Asa. This, just because the entire deck, the cards that you'll be summoning are going to be Earth. This would definitely be the one you want to include. And then you're obviously going to be able to force out an interaction if your opponent is running the Ishizu cards, just because you can, go to special it, and then they'd have to, at that point, if you have, they'd be able to put back their graveyard cards as well. So you kind of force them to decide whether or not they want to give you the card, or if they want to use it to put back some cards and just kind of force out that interaction. So I definitely think it is the best charmer to run this format. Now, where I would make some changes in the extra deck, I have noticed, is running Ishizu cards yourself, plus playing against Ishizu tier limit. Your games go long. I have had numerous game 1s go 40, 45 minutes, even into time. So having something in the extra deck, or if you can put something in the main deck to be able to do burn damage, is definitely going to be very important. Because this deck is going to do a really good job of not taking too much damage, so if we're, 40 minutes into a game 1, you're probably not going to be either too far down on life or too far up on it. So having something maybe like a Gaga Cowboy in the extra deck would be really helpful, just to be able to do some additional damage. So really something to kind of test out, but I definitely have noticed, and I'm sure a lot of people have if you've been playing in the format, these games just go on so long. But anyway, yeah, so I just thought I would kind of go over what I've been playing and, my ratios. Definitely let me know what you think, what you're playing this format, or if you are playing this format. I know a lot of people are just kind of taking a step back until these cards kind of get reined in, which is totally understandable. But anyway, I will see y'all next time.